Friends, this is something really huge. It's perhaps the biggest news of this year, related to both keto and carnivore diet followers. Finally, after a long time, the first ever, science-backed Carnivore Food Pyramid is here. And it is already making some huge waves in the world of nutrition.
So, what exactly is this new low-carb, animal-based carnivore food pyramid? What is the incredible science behind this revolutionary development? What myths it busts? And what are the unbelievable health benefits it has revealed? And most importantly, what does Harvard say about this mighty lifestyle? Let's find out. For the past several decades, we have been misled at a vicious level. Big Food and Big Pharma have orchestrated a nutritional experiment on humanity, one that has backfired catastrophically. We were constantly told that saturated fats and red meat are our worst enemies, while sugary cereals, seed oils, and low-fat processed foods were hailed as the heroes of heart health. But what really happened? Well, obesity soared to unprecedented levels. Type 2 diabetes became a global epidemic. Autoimmune conditions and mental illness reached record levels. And all the while, pharmaceutical giants cashed in on a chronically ill population, offering pills for conditions that were, more often than not, created or worsened by the very diets that were promoted as healthy.
But now, something radical has emerged. Something which is truly a turning point for us all. A new food pyramid has been reviewed and released. A real one, finally grounded in science and our ancestral wisdom. And unlike the carb-heavy model introduced in the 1990s, it's built not on industry interests, but on what actually heals the human body.
As outlined in a very recent March 2025 review published in Nutrients, this pyramid flips the conventional nutrition wisdom on its head. Instead of plant-based grains and sugars forming the foundation of our diet, the carnivore pyramid elevates nutrient-dense animal foods to the base, with only modest allowances for low-sugar plant foods at the very top. This new pyramid has been developed by an international coalition of low-carb practitioners determined to align dietary guidelines with modern science and our ancestral eating patterns. It stands in stark contrast to the old USDA food pyramid most of us grew up with. The original pyramid, introduced in the 1990s, infamously based our diets on 6 to 11 servings of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta per day, relegating meats and fats to tiny slivers at the top. The carnivore food pyramid, by contrast, is built on the idea of metabolic health first. It emphasizes the foods that kept our ancestors healthy and lean for millennia, including fatty meats, fish, eggs, and natural animal fats. It demotes, or outright eliminates, the processed carbohydrates and industrial oils that only recently infiltrated the human diet. In essence, this is a food pyramid grounded in evolution and metabolism rather than food industry lobbying. It's a guide meant to optimize our health, not to sell the unhealthy food items.
So friends, how does this new pyramid exactly look like? Let's find out.
Well, the carnivore food pyramid literally flips traditional dietary guidelines on their head. Here are the layers of this new low-carb ketogenic food pyramid. Firstly, the base, its largest tier, consists of animal proteins and fats. We have ruminant meats like beef, bison, lamb, and venison as the foundation of optimal nutrition. These red meats are packed with complete protein, bioavailable iron, zinc, B vitamins, and healthy fats. Above that, the next tier features non-ruminant animal foods, including poultry, pork, and seafood, like fish and shellfish. These provide variety and additional nutrients, like omega-3 fats from cold water fish, while still being very low in carbohydrates. One step further up the pyramid, you'll find eggs and dairy, especially fermented full-fat dairy, like cheese or yogurt, if tolerated. Eggs are often called nature's multivitamin for their broad nutrient profile, and dairy can provide calcium and probiotics, though the pyramid advises that each individual decide if dairy works for them. At the very peak of this pyramid is a small, optional tier of low-carbohydrate plant foods, primarily non-starchy vegetables and fruits. These might include avocados, olives, and berries. Importantly, this top tier is optional and minimal. Many followers of an animal-based diet may skip plant foods altogether, especially those on a strict carnivore regimen. Finally, outside of the pyramid entirely is the category of foods to avoid. This includes refined sugars, grains, and seed oils. These are the very items the old food pyramid encouraged, but the new model pointedly casts out as nutritionally unnecessary or even detrimental. Visually and conceptually, this carnivore food pyramid is the mirror image of the old one. In simple words, the new pyramid champions an animal-based, low-carbohydrate way of eating that researchers argue to be more in line with human biology. It's a guide that is believed to lead towards drastic improvements in health, especially for those suffering from various untreatable chronic conditions. We'll get to that a bit later in the video.
And now, stepping into the really crucial sections of this video, starting off with the top myths busted by the new low-carb carnivore food pyramid, followed by even more crucial sections for both carnivore and keto followers.
Because the carnivore food pyramid challenges decades of conventional dietary advice, it inevitably confronts several long-standing nutrition myths. One of the core motivations behind the March 2025 publication in Nutrients was to rigorously confront these misconceptions using current clinical evidence, evolutionary insights, and metabolic science. Below are the most prominent myths systematically dismantled by this paradigm-shifting dietary model. Myth number 1. Saturated fats and red meat will clog your arteries. For decades, saturated fat has been scapegoated as the primary dietary culprit behind cardiovascular disease. However, rigorous modern analyses have failed to confirm this association. A 2020 review published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology concluded that there is no significant evidence supporting the reduction of saturated fat to improve cardiovascular outcomes or decrease mortality. In low-carb and ketogenic contexts, saturated fat metabolism operates differently. When carbohydrates are minimized, insulin levels drop and the body becomes more efficient at oxidizing fats for energy. This metabolic shift prevents fat accumulation and reduces systemic inflammation. Numerous studies show that low-carb diets, often higher in saturated fat, produce favorable changes in cardiovascular markers. Lowered triglycerides, increased HDL cholesterol, reduced small dense LDL particles, which are the most atherogenic, and lowered blood pressure. Importantly, while LDL cholesterol may rise in some individuals, recent evidence suggests that this alone is not a sufficient predictor of heart disease when inflammation and insulin resistance are absent. In a study of lean individuals with elevated LDL on low-carb diets, termed lean mass hyperresponders, researchers observed no increase in arterial plaque over 5 years. Additionally, a 1-year ketogenic trial in type 2 diabetes patients showed that 17 of 20 cardiovascular risk markers improved, despite a modest rise in LDL. The carnivore pyramid unapologetically reinstates red meat and saturated fat as vital, health-promoting foods, not dietary villains. Moving ahead, myth number 2. You need fiber in plants for a healthy gut. The assumption that dietary fiber, especially from plant sources, is indispensable for gastrointestinal health is not supported by emerging evidence. Fiber is commonly believed to promote bowel regularity, but studies show that its elimination may actually improve symptoms like constipation and bloating in sensitive individuals. A controlled clinical trial demonstrated that participants who eliminated fiber altogether had more regular and comfortable bowel movements than those consuming high-fiber diets. This may be due to certain fiber types acting as mechanical irritants or fermentable substrates for gas-producing gut bacteria, exacerbating symptoms of IBS, SIBO, and general discomfort. Carnivore-style diets, by eliminating fermentable carbohydrates and plant anti-nutrients, often reduce bloating, stabilize gut motility, and improve symptoms of GERD and IBS. A 2023 clinical trial, published in Lancet Gastroenterology and Hepatology, found that a low-carb diet was just as effective as a low FODMAP diet in treating IBS, suggesting that carbohydrate reduction, not fiber intake, is the more significant factor. Moreover, carnivore adherents frequently report improved gut function, reduced inflammation, and decreased symptoms of autoimmune GI conditions like Crohn's disease. The carnivore pyramid supports gut health not through plant roughage, but through nutrient-dense animal foods, collagen, and natural fats. Myth number 3. High-protein diets harm kidney function. The fear that a high-protein diet will damage the kidneys originates from misinterpretations of renal physiology, particularly in the context of chronic kidney disease, CKD. However, in individuals with normal kidney function, there is no evidence that increased protein intake causes harm. A comprehensive 2018 meta-analysis found that high-protein diets do not impair kidney health in otherwise healthy people. Even in those with early-stage kidney impairment, ketogenic and low-carb diets have shown therapeutic promise. Recent studies demonstrate that carbohydrate restriction in diabetic patients not only improves blood sugar control, a critical factor in slowing kidney disease progression, but may also stabilize or improve renal markers. It is hyperglycemia and chronic inflammation, not protein per se, that drive most kidney complications. The carnivore pyramid, by eliminating high glycemic foods and emphasizing metabolic control, presents a nutritionally and clinically safer alternative for renal health than traditional carbohydrate-heavy diets. Moving on, myth number 4. Animal-based diets weaken our bones. It has long been claimed that protein-rich diets increase the acid load on the body and lead to calcium loss from bones. This acid ash hypothesis, however, has been refuted by long-term data. Higher protein intake is now associated with better bone mineral density, particularly in older adults. Protein contributes directly to musculoskeletal health by supporting muscle retention, which is crucial for preventing fractures and falls. Moreover, animal foods provide key bone-building nutrients such as calcium from dairy and bone-in fish, vitamin D from fatty fish and egg yolks, vitamin K2 from liver and cheeses, and collagen from connective tissue and bone broth. Studies consistently show that individuals consuming higher amounts of animal protein do not suffer from increased fracture rates and often have superior skeletal integrity compared to those on plant-based, low-protein diets. The carnivore pyramid enhances bone health by ensuring an optimal supply of all nutrients required for bone formation and maintenance. Myth number 5. A balanced diet requires plant variety and carbohydrates for energy. Mainstream definitions of a balanced diet typically emphasize the inclusion of various food groups, including high-carbohydrate plants, without evaluating their nutrient density or metabolic consequences. The carnivore pyramid reframes balance in terms of meeting biological needs for essential nutrients. All essential amino acids, fatty acids, minerals, and fat-soluble vitamins can be found in animal products. Even nutrients thought to be exclusively plant-based, such as vitamin C, are present in sufficient quantities in fresh meat, especially when carbohydrate intake is low, reducing the body's requirement. Furthermore, carbohydrates are not biologically essential. The body can produce glucose via gluconeogenesis, and once fat-adapted, most individuals experience more stable energy without the fluctuations associated with carbohydrate consumption. Studies on ketogenic and low-carb diets show improved endurance, mental clarity, and reduced hunger. Thus, dietary variety in terms of plant-based foods is not necessary to achieve nutritional adequacy or energy stability. The carnivore pyramid offers a more biologically aligned interpretation of dietary balance. And finally, myth number 6. Whole grains should be the base of a healthy diet. This foundational claim of mainstream dietary guidelines has been thoroughly challenged by the carnivore food pyramid. Whole grains, once promoted as the essential base of a balanced diet, are revealed to be non-essential and, in many cases, counterproductive. While grains do offer some vitamins and minerals, they are also energy-dense, high in rapidly digestible starches, and contain anti-nutrients like phytates and lectins that inhibit the absorption of key minerals such as zinc, calcium, and iron. Populations worldwide, including traditional pastoralist societies and Inuit communities, have lived healthfully for generations without consuming grains, relying instead on nutrient-rich animal foods. These groups display low incidences of metabolic and inflammatory diseases, in stark contrast to grain-based Western diets. Furthermore, clinical evidence shows that removing grains, especially refined ones, from the diet results in improvements in weight, insulin sensitivity, and blood sugar regulation. Grains' high glycemic load contributes to insulin resistance and promotes fat accumulation, while their presence in processed foods compounds the issue. The carnivore pyramid replaces this outdated foundation with a superior one: animal-based foods that offer complete proteins, healthy fats, and micronutrients without the glycemic volatility. So, by systematically dismantling these myths, the low-carb carnivore food pyramid offers a compelling, scientifically grounded alternative to the failed nutritional dogmas of the past. It is a model not only for disease reversal, but for long-term human vitality.
Now, before moving to the most crucial section of the video, we would like to know: which diet plan are you following? Keto, carnivore, or some other? And how has been your health so far? Do share your journey in the comments. And we would also request you to subscribe to our channel, helping us spread this healing message further. And now, let's reveal the top health benefits of the low-carb carnivore diet, as discussed in the new publication, followed by the top findings of the Harvard Carnivore Study.
Well, the low-carb carnivore diet has emerged not only as a counterpoint to conventional nutrition models, but as a powerful, evidence-backed strategy for restoring and optimizing human health. Here are the recently documented, physiologically supported, top 10 health benefits associated with the carnivore diet. Benefit number 1: reversal of metabolic syndrome and sustainable weight loss. Metabolic syndrome, defined by elevated triglycerides, abdominal obesity, hypertension, low HDL, and insulin resistance, is a precursor to type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. The carnivore diet addresses each of these markers with metabolic precision. By eliminating refined carbohydrates and stabilizing insulin levels, this diet rapidly reduces triglycerides, often by 50% or more, increases HDL, lowers blood pressure, and promotes fat loss, particularly visceral fat. A landmark 2-year clinical trial by Virta Health, 2018, demonstrated that a ketogenic, animal-based diet led to an average 12% body weight reduction and reversed metabolic syndrome criteria in the majority of participants. Unlike traditional calorie-restricted diets, carnivore adherents report spontaneous appetite regulation due to the high satiety index of protein and fat, enabling sustained weight loss without chronic hunger. The next 3 benefits are the most crucial in my opinion. Let's see if you agree to my opinion. Moving on, benefit number 2: improvement in cardiovascular risk factors. Contrary to long-standing fears, the carnivore diet tends to improve the very markers most associated with cardiovascular disease. Low-carb eating improves the triglyceride to HDL ratio, a powerful predictor of heart attack risk. It also reduces blood pressure, insulin levels, and systemic inflammation. Low-carb diets are known to shift LDL particles from small and dense, more atherogenic, to large and buoyant, less harmful. Additionally, many patients report improvements in carotid intima media thickness and coronary calcium scores, suggesting that atherosclerosis progression may be slowed or even halted on this diet. Physicians specializing in metabolic cardiology have observed these results in clinical practice, and the trend is increasingly supported by emerging data. Benefit number 3: type 2 diabetes remission and blood sugar stabilization. The carnivore diet delivers remarkable outcomes for individuals with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. By removing all sources of sugar and starch, the need for insulin drops sharply. Insulin sensitivity is restored as the pancreas is no longer overburdened, and blood sugar fluctuations stabilize. According to data from the Virta Health study, more than half of participants achieved diabetes remission after just 10 weeks of ketogenic eating. This outcome, once considered impossible, is now routinely observed in low-carb clinical programs. The 2025 Nutrients Review confirms this trend, noting that carbohydrate restriction is the most consistently effective intervention for glycemic control. Carnivore eating, which takes carb restriction to its maximal expression, provides a sustainable and drug-free pathway to remission. Moving ahead, benefit number 4, cognitive function and neurological stability. The carnivore diet is associated with vast improvements in mental clarity, focus, mood stability, and overall cognitive performance. This is largely due to the brain's ability to utilize ketones, a cleaner and more efficient fuel than glucose. Historically, ketogenic diets have been used to treat epilepsy. Today, metabolic psychiatrists are exploring carnivore and keto diets for conditions like depression, bipolar disorder, and schizophrenia. Preliminary case studies and pilot data suggest significant symptom relief. Mechanistically, this may be driven by reduced neuroinflammation, improved mitochondrial efficiency, and the elimination of dietary triggers, such as gluten or oxalates, that can provoke neurological distress in susceptible individuals. Benefit number 5, reduction of systemic inflammation and autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, are notoriously difficult to treat. The carnivore diet offers an anti-inflammatory dietary environment by removing common plant antigens, lectins, oxalates, alkaloids, and processed seed oils that often exacerbate inflammation. Patients with autoimmune conditions frequently report remission or significant symptom relief upon adopting an all-animal elimination diet. Some discontinue immunosuppressive medications under medical supervision. Mechanistically, this is supported by reductions in systemic markers like C-reactive protein, CRP, and restoration of gut barrier integrity, both of which are crucial for immune homeostasis. Moving ahead, benefit number 6, improved gastrointestinal function and gut healing. Despite fears about fiber deficiency, many individuals report superior digestive health on the carnivore diet. Constipation, bloating, IBS, and GERD often resolve, likely due to the elimination of fermentable carbohydrates and gut-irritating plant fibers. A clinical study found that patients with chronic constipation experienced improved bowel function when fiber was eliminated. Other trials have shown that low-carb diets rival low-FODMAP diets in treating IBS. By reducing gut inflammation and providing easily digestible animal nutrients, the carnivore diet supports microbiome recalibration and gut mucosal healing. Benefit number 7, hormonal rebalancing and fertility improvements. The carnivore diet enhances endocrine function by stabilizing insulin and supporting hormone synthesis with ample dietary cholesterol and saturated fat. Women with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, a condition closely tied to insulin resistance, often experience restored menstrual regularity and improved fertility. Men report elevated testosterone levels, increased libido, and better athletic performance. Hormonal optimization is further supported by the anti-inflammatory and nutrient-dense nature of the diet, particularly its abundance of fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, K2, zinc, and cholesterol, all essential precursors for sex hormone production. Now, moving to the final 3 on this list. Benefit number 8, skin, hair, and nail health. Improved skin tone, the carnivore glow. Stronger nails and thicker hair are frequently reported. High intake of bioavailable collagen, keratin, and omega-3 fats from meat, bone broth, eggs, and fatty fish supports dermal and connective tissue regeneration. Additionally, the elimination of sugar and seed oils, both linked to acne and skin glycation, reduces inflammatory skin conditions. Autoimmune dermatological issues like eczema and psoriasis often improve due to reduced systemic inflammation and potential removal of dietary antigens. Benefit number 9, increased energy and physical performance. Once adapted, individuals on the carnivore diet report elevated and sustained energy levels without the crashes associated with carbohydrate-based fueling. Fat becomes the body's primary energy substrate, leading to greater endurance, reduced hunger, and improved physical recovery. Athletes in endurance and strength domains are increasingly adopting low-carb protocols for training and competition, leveraging enhanced mitochondrial function and stable blood glucose. While explosive anaerobic performance may require strategic carb intake, many find their baseline energy and resilience improve dramatically in a fat-adapted state. And finally, benefit number 10, long-term sustainability and quality of life. Unlike restrictive calorie-counting regimens, the carnivore diet is self-regulating. High satiety from protein and fat, elimination of cravings, and metabolic normalization make long-term adherence feasible. In large surveys, the majority of adherents maintain the diet for over a year, many for life. A 2021 Harvard-affiliated study surveying over 2,000 carnivore diet participants found overwhelming self-reported health improvements across weight, mood, chronic disease management, and lab markers, despite high intake of red meat and animal fat.
Now, to solidify the case for an all-animal food lifestyle, let's turn to one of the most comprehensive investigations into carnivore diets to date. A 2021 study conducted by researchers at Harvard Medical School, also known as the Harvard Carnivore Study, published in a highly reputed scientific journal.
Here are the top 7 findings from the 2021 Harvard Carnivore Study. Number 1. Minimal adverse effects and gastrointestinal tolerance. Contrary to popular fears that a zero-fiber diet leads to digestive distress, the study found that fewer than 5% of participants reported ongoing gastrointestinal issues, such as bloating, constipation, or indigestion. In fact, many stated that their digestive health had actually improved since adopting the carnivore diet. This runs counter to mainstream nutritional assumptions, which often promote fiber as essential for bowel function. Participants also did not report the common negative symptoms predicted by critics of the diet, such as headaches, fatigue, or signs of nutrient deficiency. Number 2. Widespread self-reported health improvements. A staggering 95% of participants stated that their overall health and well-being had improved on the carnivore diet. This included not only weight loss and metabolic changes, but also subjective improvements in energy, mental clarity, skin condition, sleep quality, and exercise recovery. These responses were consistent across demographic groups and offered strong real-world validation of the diet's potential to positively impact human physiology. Number 3. Significant weight loss and body recomposition. The data showed a notable transformation in body composition across the study group. Participants experienced a reduction in median body mass index, BMI, from approximately 27, considered overweight, to 24, within the healthy range. This weight loss was achieved without structured calorie restriction or food tracking, suggesting that the high satiety of protein and fat enabled participants to self-regulate their intake effectively. The diet's hormonal effects, especially the suppression of insulin and the normalization of leptin signaling, likely played a critical role in facilitating this fat loss. Number 4. Reversal of type 2 diabetes and metabolic dysfunction. Participants who began the diet with a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes or prediabetes experienced profound improvements. Many were able to normalize their blood glucose levels and discontinue or reduce medications, including insulin. While exact HbA1c figures were not published, the study noted meaningful reductions across the board. This result aligns with previous clinical data on low-carb and ketogenic diets, which demonstrate that sharply reducing carbohydrate intake can dramatically improve insulin sensitivity and glycemic control. The carnivore diet, as an extreme form of carbohydrate restriction, appears especially powerful in this regard. Finding number 5. Complex cholesterol shifts and favorable cardiometabolic profiles. The study confirmed that LDL cholesterol levels were elevated among many participants, with a median LDL value around 172. However, this was accompanied by a highly favorable lipid profile overall. HDL cholesterol was also elevated, with a median value around 68, and triglycerides were low, also around 68. This 1-to-1 triglyceride to HDL ratio is considered a strong marker of insulin sensitivity and low cardiovascular risk. Despite higher LDL, participants did not report increased incidence of cardiovascular issues. The study emphasized that context is critical. When LDL increases occur in the setting of low inflammation, high HDL, and low triglycerides, they may not carry the same risk as traditionally believed. Number 6. Reduction in inflammatory and autoimmune symptoms. Participants living with autoimmune conditions, including rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, eczema, and fibromyalgia, reported significant relief from pain, swelling, and other inflammatory symptoms. Many indicated that symptoms previously managed with medications were now under control or had resolved entirely. These outcomes are thought to result from the removal of plant antigens, seed oils, and other dietary triggers of inflammation, combined with the immune-stabilizing effect of a nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory animal-based diet. And lastly, finding number 7, enhanced mental health and cognitive performance. Numerous respondents described improvements in mental clarity, emotional stability, and mood. Some who had struggled with anxiety, depression, or attention issues found those symptoms diminished or resolved. Although not the primary focus of the survey, a portion of participants even reported reducing or eliminating psychiatric medications under medical guidance. The ketogenic and anti-inflammatory properties of the diet likely play a role, as well as the removal of potential food intolerances known to affect neurological function.
So friends, what is your opinion on the low-carb food pyramid? What diet plan are you following these days? And how has been your experience so far? Do share in the comments. Subscribe now to our channel and become a proud member of our vibrant carnivore community, helping us spread this message further. And if you want to know what was found in the dusty basement that changed everything, click the video on the screen to find that out.